I want to talk about the power of propaganda, right? And when you have the proper systems and tools and the right people in the right place to push propaganda, propaganda can be very, very powerful. Now, historically, let's look at it, right? Let's look at Nazi Germany, right? And the way propaganda was used, and also look at today and in America, the way that propaganda is used. So before there was an actual physical confrontation toward the Jews in Germany, the Nazis took out aggressive propaganda campaigns against them, demonizing them, making them seem less than human, depicting them in a bad light. Basically justifying the horror that was to come, right? If you don't understand that piece and how propaganda was used in that setting, then you might not understand what's going on here in America, right? So let's think about the film Birth of a Nation, the original Birth of a Nation, where it depicted a black man as an ultra-sexed, hyper-masculine, hypersexual person who was hell-bent on raping white women. And so basically it depicted the picture of black men being the number one threat to white women. But the real number one threat to white women at that time were white men. But it was a depiction of black men being the number one threat to white women. And so let's also look at different ways propaganda has been used through the movies Birth of a Nation. They created a hotel chain called the Coon Chicken Inn. Go look it up if you don't believe me. The Coon Chicken Inn, when it had this big face of this black person with the exaggerated lips and the hands and things like that. And there was a whole franchise, the Coon Chicken Inn. Caricatures in newspapers, articles, things put out, TV shows, cartoons, books. Not only that, the other side of propaganda is information being removed, right? Information being removed. Like I saw the Wilmington on Fire movie. And I actually had a chance to interview the brother Christopher Everett on my podcast. Go to the www.freedomtrainradio.com. You can check out the interview with the brother Christopher Everett. But one of the things that made the coup d'etat in Wilmington so successful was the ability to shut down the black people's voice. So black people had their own voice, which was the most popular newspaper in the city. It was shut down by the white supremacists, right? That has to happen for propaganda to be powerful and to be successful. It can't have any enemies. It can't have anything that's countering it, right? The way propaganda works is it gets played over and over and over and over. These negative messages over and over and over and over and over. And after a while, this is when perception becomes reality. Because the way you perceive me is now the way that I am, or you really believe I exist, or I am even exhibiting these behaviors in some light. That's how some of the stereotypes have become a part of our culture, if you will. Think about it. Some of the negative stereotypes that we joke about or we accept, these behaviors we didn't have before we got here. So why do we have these behaviors now? What's brought these things on to us? Well, it's being under the throes of white supremacy for over 500 years, right? Being totally under the throes of white supremacy, we've been conditioned to be this way, but the propaganda has also made it easier for the oppression to happen because the outside world views us as enemies. Even look back at the times before Ida B. Wells started writing her narratives about the lynchings that were happening in the South. Even black people who were not in the South thought that the black people who were being lynched were criminals. And until the propaganda was countered, nobody really was opposing the white supremacy because they thought, well, those people are criminals and criminals deserve to be punished. But when they learned that they were not criminals, that's when things changed. when Ida B. Wells was brave enough to write those narratives about the lynchings, that's when things changed. So that's what I'm talking about propaganda. Remember, we've already learned that human beings, our brains can be programmed through words, through pictures and sound. Pictures and sound. Our television is pictures and sound. Music videos, pictures and sound. So when you keep getting messages over and over and over and over and over and over and over, it shapes your being. It shapes your thoughts. It molds you and how you exist. Right? That's the power of propaganda, because they already know that pictures and sound is a great way to condition people. They know this. They've already studied all this. It's information that's common, but not as common as you would think it is, or it should be.